the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100. That's what we're going over. Now, the first thing I want to tell you, the biggest news of all, the biggest thing to be tracking is into tomorrow, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. You have core PCE data coming out. We do know this from the Fed to be the most important understanding of where we stand with inflation and the battle against it. And if we look at Jackson Hole from last week, Powell put a lot of emphasis on this day, most important event and data pool that you're going to get. So understand that. Now, the first thing and few things we're going to look at in particular here on the market, the Nasdaq, everything in between. Now, the biggest thing we're going to be looking at today and why today was so big on the daily level, you are breaking back over June 16th highs. Big indicator there. That's on the Nasdaq. We go to ES. And you're seeing some better performance here on SPY in particular, breaking over that yesterday already and holding above it. Really good pull there. We look at something like the Dow breaking out over that level as well. As you can see, you're already performing. So it looks like Dow, ES are outperforming the Nasdaq right now. Okay, so that's the biggest things there. If you're not following on Twitter, I also recommend doing so. Just so you know, you go to the channel, go over here. Every morning, I usually give you a little bit of an update and things that we're looking for on the market. Yesterday, had a great Tuesday, big break over 444. PC tomorrow before open, expect slow down on percentage selling into the end of the day close. PC can turn this whole move around. So I really want to emphasize that. But what I will say, area that I was wrong today is there was not really too much selling into close. I did think you'd see a little bit more hedging, but in fact, you're seeing some bullish signs of continuation that we need to talk about in this video, specifically on technicals, and I'll tell you how I'm approaching and attacking this market. Before we do that, I have to ask you to consider doing two things. Liking and subscribing helps out a lot. I do appreciate all that you guys do here for the channel. If you are interested, the Discord link is down below. But you can also subscribe to the newsletter. You go over here, go to newsletter. Every single week we have this thing ready for you. So I recommend being on the newsletter. It's 100% free, along with us being live here every single day. The Discord link also is here as well. If you are interested, you want to see what we're doing, how we're trading every single day, everything in between. Again, it's all there for you to see. Hope you guys enjoy it. One guy ended up joining from yesterday. Jonathan, literally first day here. Jay had a meeting scheduled with him today, talked about him, and literally all he did was just follow what's happening specifically with our bot here in Discord if you do not know about it. So we have a bot that gives you every single chart that we have. You just put in the search engine for whatever chart, Netflix, Adobe, doesn't matter. Shows you our key levels, reactions from it as well. And then we also have the watch list every single day to know exactly how we're trading and looking for. But again, that's what we're looking at there. Now, the most bullish and kind of craziest things on the day, like let's just talk about movement into, tomorrow, right? If I'm ignoring PC and I'm ignoring, fundamentals, I would honestly be heavy already. I'd be very bullish into this. So as of right now, you are clearly making an ascending triangle, pushing up, right? Clearly you can see it. Very easy to see. So ascending triangle forming out for big bullish continuation, breaking out. NQ is getting over its level as well. Very strong. ES, clearly there. Dow, a little bit funky, but yeah. So ES, the Nasdaq are primary things that we're following. You're seeing it there clearly, right? You can just see it on every single chart. SPY, QQQ, whatever you want to say. They're all look like they want to break out. They all look very strong. A lot of the pressure we saw today came from, a lot of the upside pressure, right, came from Apple. Apple had a monster day. Again, in anticipation, what have we been saying? Going into the new iPhone release, you're probably going to see a lot of buying. Again, we talked about what we expected from that buying. We talked about it yesterday. Most likely integrating AI, their Apple GPT, integration into the new iPhone. Very big news. A lot of stuff being released there. And new AirPods, which always bring in money for the company. It's going to be probably pretty big. So again, as you look at technicals, there's just I don't need to go over this too much. I really don't. I mean, NVIDIA pushing back into all-time highs. I think if PC comes out well, I'm going to say right now, actually, scratch this. Like, PC goes well tomorrow, NVIDIA is the number one play. You did have Biden say that they are banning NVIDIA from sending certain semiconductors to China and another country. I don't care. Still, NVIDIA is the most bullish stock on the market. Their earnings were incredible, impeccable, beautiful. So if PC comes out better than or as expected, I am viewing NVIDIA for a breakout of all-time highs, getting above 500. Targets around 525, 530. And that's just spitballing, to be honest. As you get into price discovery, you're just guessing at that point, in my opinion. You can do some measured moves, but I think you're going to get a pretty big move. I think NVIDIA is going to get a lot of steam. I think it's going to get a lot of traction. You have AVGO earnings tomorrow after hours as well. So big things there. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on the charts here because it's all up for grabs here, right? There's the newsletter. So if you guys have the newsletter, if you're on our Twitter, I'll have charts posted later tonight as well for some key levels and things. But overall, I'm not going to do too many charts or stocks I'm liking because it's a coin toss. I don't know what's going to come out with data tomorrow. A few things we'll look at here. DXY definitely pulled back into the 200 SMA. Not a good sign, right? Pretty weak. But again, you're going into data. You go down to yields as well at the very bottom. Big pullback across the board on all these. If PC comes out better than expected on the downside, lower than expected, then expect yields to continue to drop and what's happening with the dollar. But one thing that's not good from the market rising like this is, energy. Oil, bull flag above the 200 SMA on the daily, trying to break out. You get above $85 here, 84. You look dangerous into 92. That could be really big for, energy markets. You saw a name like Exxon. You've seen names like CVX get a lot of love. Donnie in Discord loves these guys. He's been a big Exxon guy. You've been talking a lot about it from 106. He's been a big buyer, and you're performing really well here as well. So again, there's a lot of things. It's just very interesting, very delicate. There's no reason to hammer positions. The only position I like in my dated positions right now is Tesla 2025. So I continue to say that. It's beautiful. Those contracts are basically back to green. So yeah, everyone that said that, Tesla was risky there. Okay. 500 days on contracts, real risky. So that's what we're looking at there. Again, PC data will be here on investing.com, but I want to give you a little bit of a breakdown on what to expect and how to interpret this all going into tomorrow. So again, I've continue to preach this idea of patience. And when I say patience, it means more of on the swing side of things and letting things run, holding overnight, etc. I think if we look at this entire week, if you held something overnight, you had a lot of risk associated with that position. Even with the great run that we had yesterday, you opened up today and kind of had some downside. So there was no real reason, and it was a lot of back and forth today. It wasn't great trading. But yeah, there's no real reason to hammer positions, right? Especially going into this day, right? You can have an underlying opinion, but at the end of the day, data's going to win. Data is going to decide the movement of this market and how we ultimately price in rate hikes going forward, and then how much love we get. Now, I'll tell you a few things though. If PC comes out, let's talk about if PC comes out better than expected first. So the bullish side, if PC comes in lower or at expectations, right? At expectations, things are tricky, but I'm going to say a few things. If you come in at expectations or lower, so let's say lower first. Come in at lower expectations. A few bullish things. One, you're going to get automatic love on NQ and ES. Okay, you're automatically going to get love on indexes, right? But just like 4,200, I always go back because again, if you're here on the channel, it's important that you're watching the videos and maybe even taking notes. I don't know, right? I was never really a note taker in high school and college, but some people need to. Only thing I take notes on is my trade journal now. So, but that's kind of all automated for me. So when you are looking at 4,200 on ES. What was the big impact that made us shoot up, right? And it's important that we go back and identify things that have happened in the market and how they can relate to happening right now or potential moves. Going into this week, it was all a lot about shorts covering, right? Going into the middle of the week. We're like, if we get over specific levels, shorts will have to cover. And it happened. Nvidia, ran up like crazy. Tesla ran up like crazy. Meta ran up pretty decent, not as good as the other ones, but we saw a lot of running on the market. And it was a lot of the names that we had mentioned, from prior week. Okay. And so it's important that we continue to track so we understand how to implement these and how to identify the correct things here in the market. So if we look at 4,200, 4,250 on ES and when we had that breakout, a lot of that was led from weak sectors finally getting love. And one of the weakest sectors as of recent has been banks, XLF, KRE. And if you come out with PC lowering again, okay, if it lowers again, you're going to price in a pause on rates. You're going to price in another pause for September, right? If that happens, you're going to see yields go down, right? Even over the past few days with yields going down, we've seen banks get some love, okay? So we start to see these areas in the market that took a lot of pain from getting downgraded, that has happened, did get downgraded, right? It's important that we identify what will happen if those areas get love. You most likely start getting a rebound, strong buying back in the economy, and things start to look good again. So it's really important that we're just viewing that as well. And then as the movement that we're getting today, right? Granted, Nasdaq was up today, but I think there was better movement on ES. There was better movement on Dow, right? So when we look at those names, and I will say there was some bad news on Dow, but I'll talk about that in a second. With what's happening on the side of ES and what's bullish there, That's good to see that it's not just one sector moving. It's not just tech. It's not just NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is running like crazy, but it's not just semiconductors getting love. It's across the board. We didn't like that when it was just NVIDIA getting the push up. We wanted to see it spread into Apple, Microsoft, the rest of the big names as well, because that shows a better sign of healthy markets and continuation, right? Those are things you want to see. So that's the good side of this. If it comes out lower than expected. Now, if it comes out above expected, inflation rises, right? We get higher than expected inflation. There's a few things that concern me. One, banks will get hammered. I think banks are at a really big inflection point, very big. And you're going to start seeing them get hammered, and then you're going to see more and more pain. Now, a few things that have happened as of recently, if you don't know, the Fed is cracking down on some of the credit raises that they're forcing these smaller banks to have and credit requirements. It's not good news. Okay. And then you also look at what's happening with Dow. One of the main reasons Dow was up today were names like Visa and MasterCard. And you're thinking, Tyler, what happened there? Well, Visa and MasterCard are officially raising their credit card fees, right? Why CNBC? Why aren't these big news networks? Why aren't all these financial channels talking about it? It's pretty big news. Now, you're seeing credit restrictions, credit demands for banks being harder on you, the consumer, harder on me, everyday people, right? And then you're also seeing MasterCard and Visa up their fees as well. It's a double whammy. Right? It's really interesting the timing that we're getting, and it could be detrimental. I'm going to tell you that. That's like the least I'm going to say. I'm not going to be the person that, predicts defaults on credit and, when houses are going to go under. It's not me. I don't think houses are even in danger as of right now. I really don't. People are going to disagree with me, but the average mortgage in America is still like 3.7%. And that's because so many people bought a house when rates were down at 2%. Just saying. Those people are still paying nothing when it comes to their mortgage. So, as long as people still have their jobs and unemployment stays relatively low, you look good. So those are areas that look good and bad in the market and things to be concerned about. So if rates or PCE comes in higher than expected, I think rates are to price in a 0.25 hike, number one. Number two, it leads me to believe that CPI will most likely be bad as well come in the next week and a half when it comes out. I think it's not this next week, the week after, but I could be wrong. I'll update you guys on Twitter. So those are two things. And so it's kind of going to be like a domino effect because right now, again, oil continues to remain at these levels. We talked about it. Oil typically stays in ranges. Like you move up, then you range, then you move up, then you range, or you move down, then you range and a little bit back and forth for, month, 2 months. And you just find your range back and forth based on OPEC and what's happening around the world. So those are things to be kind of looking at. And so I do believe whatever we do, I think there's more case. The concern of the downside worries me because if we get a downside move here on PCE, it's going to be something moving forward that's going to be something that's haunting kind of over top of us that we're going to be worried about at the next data meeting and the next one and the next one and the next one. But if we have good, then it's kind of like, okay, we made it past, we'll just get to the next one. And there kind of won't be bad expectations because we haven't got bad data. People have been saying, and including me, I was like, man, February, we could get some bad data. But we really haven't had bad data for the whole year. So it's kind of like this thesis of like, oh, the person crying wolf. And that's where we're sitting at right now. So that's the viewpoint of the market. That's how I'm attacking this. And some people may be like, well, Tyler, that isn't necessarily bullish for the market. Again, we have to identify, are you a day trader? Are you trading this market? Or are you trading long-term? Now, my long-term opinion is you just buy stock, right? If you're a long-term, looking at the health of the economy, you just buy, forget. That's what you do. If you're a day trader, then ultimately you really only care about the next 3 days, 48 hours, give or take, whatever you're expecting, news articles, how we react here and there. And so you can see that even if necessarily my underlying tone of the market isn't bullish, right? Or it isn't the most crazy outlook of us pushing all-time highs, right? Just based on one data reading, right? Then you have to be able to connect where my mind is, right? And so that's how I view the market. I'm not going to play the market from a viewpoint of we're going to go back to lows. That doesn't make any logical sense for me. We would have to really have entrenched inflation, very bad data. And so far, the market's proving very resilient based on this bounce back just from Jackson Hole, right? Very aggressive buying, and they're showing up very, very aggressive. Sellers cannot maintain this, and they can't push you down. They need help. We have to see if data comes out, and I will say Powell didn't seem that great, but overall, I'm trading what we're getting, not what I want. That's what you have to do as a trader, and that's how you have to win, and that's how you will win in this market. Have a good one, traders. See you tomorrow.